Hey there, this is aleckermit. You are watching the commentated version of my 007 Agent Under Fire tool-assisted speedrun. This was done on the Nintendo GameCube version using the hardest difficulty, 00 Agent. Playing on the hardest difficulty is usually a standard for tool-assisted speedruns, but in this game it's also a bonus because it gives us multiple time-saving advantages over the easier difficulties. For one thing, the auto-aim is disabled, so I can get juicy headshots throughout the run. This will save time when killing enemies, and it's just much more entertaining. Also, there are less in-game hint cutscenes on the hardest difficulty. So, for example, coming up here as I take this corner, there's usually a cutscene showing you that you can shoot the forklift to blow these guys up, but on the hardest difficulty, that doesn't appear. So, in most of the levels, I'm going to be saving real time and a little bit of game time by not viewing those hint cutscenes. And finally, playing on the hardest difficulty is going to grant us higher scores at the end of each level. This is going to give us access to most of the game's gold rewards, including a fully upgraded P2K, golden grenades, and golden armor. All of these are going to help us play through the game much faster. By now, you may have noticed that I am running along some of the walls in this level at about a 45-degree angle. This is called wall surfing, and it does give Bond a slight increase in speed. It doesn't work on every wall, so its application is limited, but it does save around 2 to 4 seconds in this level alone. The trick coming up is called explosion boosting. It's where you get a large knockback from an explosive, and in this scenario, it's going to let me jump over an invisible wall and cut Zoe's lock from the opposite side it was intended to be cut from. So this saves me about 10 to 15 seconds of travel time around the room.
Watch out for that helicopter!
This level is entirely on rails, meaning I have no control over the vehicle I'm in, but that doesn't mean we can't save time. There are some pretty important time-sensitive moments coming up, but they're not for a little bit, so for the most part I'm just trying to provide entertaining gameplay. You can pop the tires of all of the cars in this level, so you'll see me do that a lot for laughs. And one thing right here, I did this as a kid. I shot this car and it ended up flying off the highway, and I was able to replicate it for the TAS, which was really cool. It wasn't as difficult as I thought it might be.
James, they're right in front of us. It's armor. Aim for the tires.
I realized y'all might be wondering why I'm not strafing in the on-foot levels. This is because in this game that mechanic does not make Bond move any faster than just going straight forward, back, left, or right. And with the control scheme that I'm using, it's actually slower to move diagonally, so you won't see me do that at all. Sometimes cars load in with missing textures. You probably noticed that car did not have a tire, it just had a rim, but I still popped the tire, you could hear it. That's a glitch that is pretty common actually if you look for it. So right here is our first time-sensitive moment. You have to shoot the barrels on the right to progress, and the earlier you do it, the better. Your car won't lose any speed as it makes its way through the square. This guy gives no Fs. There's a henchman up here on the corner that, if killed before passing this intersection, will let you access a different route to the gas station, but this turns out to be slower than the standard route.
James, there's a roadblock ahead.
Slow down, Zoe.
With the gas station, you just want to destroy the two cars on the left before you reach the crosswalk. or else your vehicle will come to a stop.
Good shot, James. Those cars are in the way. Ouch.
Here at the
That's
building
close.
entrance, I destroyed the 2 panes of glass so that I can fire a rocket within about a half-second time span to hit the big explosive tank in the back left corner. And that is a very obscure trick that lets the car go into the building at full speed without slowing down. And that saves about 5 seconds, and it can actually soft lock the game if you fire the rocket too early. It might look strange that I wait to shoot this red switch, but that is the earliest frame that it can be destroyed on.
Bullseye. Hurry, James. This whole place is going up.
Head to the dock, Zoe. We'll get my car.
Thought you'd never ask.
The Q branch briefcase that contains the vials is equipped with a locating beacon, 007. The arrow on your radar will enable you to track it.
Level 3 is a very straightforward and fast driving level. All I have to do is optimize my turns and take the quickest path to the van that needs to be pulsed.
Those blips on your radar indicate special modifications I've developed for your vehicle, 007. Use them sparingly, however.
The Q booster is best saved for the end of the level because the van on 00 Agent difficulty takes off very quickly from its starting position. So in order to pulse it as soon as possible, it's best to boost directly into it.
Bond, the vial.
What I did there was quit the level as soon as the van was disabled, and this lets me exit to the results screen, and it skips the camera panning slowly around Bond's car, so that saves a handful of seconds. This is the only spot in the game where you can quit a level and not fail it. Bad diplomacy is very different on 00 Agent than it is on the easier difficulties. For one, the AI are much more alert to your position. They can see and hear better than on the easier difficulties. Also, you only start with 3 dart ammo. This means that when making the TAS, I had to carefully plan where I wanted to use my 3 darts.
Despite our recent setback in Hong Kong, our plans will not be disrupted. You must receive and deliver our defective merchandise to Malprave Industries in Switzerland.
There's a guard that can spot me as I exit this elevator, but with a little bit of RNG manipulation, I can get away without him setting off the alarm.
Sound the alarm!
There's a potted plant directly behind me here that lets me get up to the stage and the door switch a little quicker. There's not much to say about the next couple of sections. I just take a couple of photos and use the decryptor a few times.
Security personnel, we have an intruder. Do not let him escape.
I create a small shortcut by jumping down to the walkway below, and then I'm able to use the 3 barrels to boost myself onto the steep slope that leads to the door switch.
Seal the doors before he escapes.
In the final room, I jump from the railing up to the tram cable hook to save another few seconds.
Last door was closed.
There's a terrorist right at the beginning of Night of the Jackal that gives me access to grenades, so the first thing I do is use one to explosion boost bunny hop my way across this large open area. This is done by jumping on the first frame that I touch the ground for each jump. I go slightly out of my way to pick up the sniper rifle because it's by far the fastest way to defeat the helicopter coming up. Inside this building are 5 terrorists which must be killed before Bond can progress. The first is killed when he walks into a well-placed grenade. The remaining enemies I silence are simply a threat to my health bar.
The name is Bond. James Bond.
A third grenade is used to completely skip Carla the Jackal's boss fight, saving close to 15 seconds. The enemy helicopter is only vulnerable after the second time it rises, giving me a moment to express my creativity. I wait until the helicopter has fully risen before shooting the pilot, because any earlier and the crashing animation for the helicopter will take longer. Standing on the helipad makes the level end a few seconds earlier. No one really knows why.
.007. The data chip has been ejected from the damaged helicopter. Retrieve the Q locator and find that chip.
Level 7 is a driving section followed by an on-rail section, and is the second longest level in the game. Cutting under this bridge saves close to a second.
The flashing beacon on your GPS map indicates the position of the locator, 007. Now don't dawdle.
I use the secret entrance of the train station, followed by a very optimized drift around the train to save another second or so.
Well done, 007. Now go find that chip. You have little time before Malbro's men get to it.
I ignored the GPS's recommendation to drive straight after going over the broken bridge, and instead take a sharp left, which saves 5 seconds.
It's imperative you get that device to me for decoding as soon as possible, 007.
A short cutscene usually plays as Bond drives over this gap, but it can be skipped if you drive just under a certain speed, tricking the game into thinking you failed to jump. This saves just under a second.
You'll have to get across the river, 007. I've left you something that should give you a boost.
This restaurant banner is probably a reference to Valentin Zukovsky, the ex-KGB informant from GoldenEye 007. Unlike the previous on-rails level, the tank allows Bond to collide with other vehicles and objects without losing speed. By shooting the car on the left at just the right moment, Bond's tank does not slow down at all, saving around 3 seconds. This helicopter can be destroyed in one precise shot to its underbelly. There's one more time-sensitive moment at the end of the level, but until then, just enjoy the play around.
Those Q-Vision goggles should give you an advantage in the dark, 007. We've learned that Malprave's men have commandeered a supply train. Be on the lookout. 007, the battery pack for those goggles is about to expire.
I shoot the train's explosive barrel before the hint cutscene can play, combining the hint cutscene with the end cutscene, creating a
Good
glitchy
job,
mess and
007.
saving close to
R
10
is waiting
seconds.
for you. .007. The data chip indicates.
Fire and Water is often regarded as the most difficult and arduous level in the game, but thanks to some pretty cool skips, it's also one of the shortest. I activate a cutscene with block in it because it's required for the next section of the level to load. I then head back down 2 floors and jump over a railing that's missing an invisible wall in order to reach the large main area early. This saves about 4 seconds and skips a lot of enemy encounters. I explosion boost up to the pump room door because it skips 2 sets of stairs which lower Bond's movement speed. Instead of navigating through this room to activate the oil pumps, I claw shot from a specific spot to land on one of the oil pumps early, and then jetpack to the 3rd floor. This saves around 15 seconds. While waiting for the elevator to come down after a set amount of time, I show off an amusing exploit where you can dramatically increase the fire rate of the SFU-4 by holding down the fire button while switching its fire mode. Hopping through the window creates a small shortcut, while the claw shot's ridiculous range allows me to reach the final platform immediately. The very long Forbidden Depths isn't particularly entertaining, and only has 2 time-sensitive moments before the boss fight at the end, so if you'd like to skip ahead, that's perfectly fine. At the first ambush, the shootable switch is not revealed until the henchman standing in front of it dies.
Just you and
At ambush number 2, the door ahead of Bond does not open until after a set amount of time. Killing enemies in the area does not speed up the process. Bond's rail car does not begin moving until the car in front of him is destroyed. The shotgun does this best with one headshot.
Enemy sighted at maintenance station.
You're a dead man, Mr. Bond.
The boss fight with Block is divided into 4 phases. In the first phase, Bond must kill 3 normal henchmen. In the second phase, I shoot Block himself. After the first hit, he gains brief invulnerability, making it impossible to finish him before a short rotation around the center platform. In the third phase, there are 3 more henchmen, but this time they have rocket launchers and more health.
This is where we say goodbye, Mr. Bond.
In the final phase, Bond must destroy the 3 flashing targets at the top of the room using guided rockets. I'm able to manually detonate each rocket just before they hit their target to save a handful of frames on each. In Poseidon, the player can run past most of his enemy encounters. In this room, 6 out of the 7 henchmen must be killed before Bond can gain access to the elevator, and 3 of those enemies do not spawn in until Bond has reached a certain part of the room. The signals from the previous room connect with the signals in this room, and as you can see, the developers forgot to set a range limit for them. You can collect an optional verification card in this area in order to begin the next level outside of the jail cell with your weapons, but that route is slower by some seconds. There are two ways onto the submarine, but the straightforward option is the fastest. Like in Night of the Jackal, I shortened some distance using an explosion boost bunny hop.
James,
I start the second to last level weaponless, but I can get my P2K back from the brig guard. Conveniently placed behind this ladder are grenades and some armor.
Bond, we've picked up your position on the carrier.
Malprave's men have taken control of the
From
ship.
here you'd normally continue on to the next room, but thanks to a grenade boost I can skip that room entirely, saving around
That's not
15
our only
seconds.
problem. We received a signal from someone on the ship. A nuclear warhead on board.
In this section, dudes get shot.
But there's no sign of the leader clone. James, I think I just saw. Wait, what the? Back here!
Rapid fire, move in! Move up!
Thank God you're here. They've armed a warhead. I can disarm it if you cut this chain.
Outside of this room, Zoe is being held captive by two super thugs who must be killed for the level to be beatable.
They got your American friend. Some rough-looking chaps are holding her below in the depth charge bay. I'll open the door to the landing so you can get a better look.
With a grenade, I'm able to shortcut towards the end of the level while killing the super thugs. I'm able to survive the drop by landing on a specific pixel on the stairs, negating all falling damage. Using the turret here requires you to activate a hint cutscene, and it's also simply not as powerful as Bond's personal arsenal. Evil Summit starts with a very well-known shortcut to the interior portion.
You must see that they do not come to harm.
Because the first signal is secretly always available, you can go straight to Silo Room 1 without rescuing the first 4 leaders. A well-aimed grenade is all that's needed to clear Silo Room 1. I collect some jet fuel for later, and boost off of a grenade to save some frames. Luckily, the 3 baddies in Silo Room 2 can be seen from the hallway. I have to actually enter Silo Room 3, but it still goes by pretty fast. You don't hear the 3rd gunshot because of how quickly I switched to the claw shot afterwards. The jetpack fuel I got earlier lets me get immediate line of sight on the 2 terrorists in Silo Room 4.
Good work, 007, but they've sealed you in. You must try to find another way out of that silo.
The load zone for the boss fight sits at the top of this elevator, so you can jetpack or jump up to it to save some frames. Irritated that I have to fight Block again, I skip him entirely using a jetpack-powered explosion boost to the 3rd floor. and then it just takes one shot.
Helm, James?
I hope you enjoyed the run. I had a lot of fun making it. Before I go, I'd like to hand out a few special thanks. First to Ben Cygnus Goldberg. He was the original SDA world record holder for this game, from whom I learned a lot of strats from years ago. Fitterspace for creating this very stylish thumbnail on the video, as well as watching nearly every single work in progress TAS input files I created for this run, almost 150 in total, so big shout outs to him. Also to him for providing feedback throughout the TAS. Solarplex for working on encodes for this TAS. I also want to thank Mr. Shasta, Chromeleon, Infinite Shelter, Ollie K, Swordless Link, TASvideos.org, and the speedrunning community in general for their support and help in making this task possible. Thank you for watching.